Hi there, it's Kevin with Roguedeckbuilder.com, here with a little bit of a rogue market. This one's not going to be fancy. I'm not going to take the time to add all the nice little graphics and projections and whatnot. I'm just going to scour the data at MTG Goldfish and give you a little update on the cards that I am targeting at the moment for Born of the Gods. I think the Born of the Gods will switch up standard enough, and going off the data that I have at the moment, doesn't allow me to make any sort of really targeted specific cards that I know are going to go up. So I just have a general idea of if we get a card here or there, which cards could actually go crazy. And I guess that as Born of the Gods spoilers come out, I will try to update this list because, of course, more information, more synergies will allow me to more accurately pick cards that I feel are going to go up. So anyway, I'm just going to go over my number 5 pick at the moment, and that is Underworld Cerberus. Underworld Cerberus is sitting at a $2.83 card. Let's zoom in here. Let's see. Let's zoom in here so you guys can see this better. All right, so here's Underworld Cerberus. It's sitting at $2.83, a little bit under $3, and this card is just a boss. It's 5 mana for a 6/6 with evasion, and then also if you're a creature-based strategy, you're able to put all of your creatures. Well, each player gets to put all their creatures from their graveyard back in their hand if Underworld Cerberus dies. Now, I've tested this card out. It's very, very powerful. The problem right now is devotion decks are so huge, and black-red is kind of a strategy that is just, if you're going to go into an aggro strategy, Boros is a little bit more powerful at the moment, and that's because you have cards like Chain of the Rocks, and you also have the Temple, which actually makes a lot of difference. I mean, the Temples are just so much better than Guild Gates. It a lot of times just pushes people over the edge to playing that strategy. And also, we are missing a 2-drop, in my opinion, for a really good 2-drop for black-red. We have plenty of 1-drops. We have Rakdos Cackler and Tormented Hero. And there's also some other ones, like you could even make arguments for Legion Loyalist and even Fire Drinker Satyr. So black-red definitely has the power in the 1-drops, but the 2-drops with Ash Zealot makes it a little bit awkward. For Rakdos, I tend to like to go more of a black strategy than a red strategy, so black cards with red burn. And we have the red burn there. We just do not have a very good, I mean, Ash Zealot's great, Spike Jester is great, but the 2- and 3-drop slot are a little bit, I guess especially the 3-drop is lacking. What we have is Agent of the Fates, which doesn't really have a decent enabler in black or red, and then we have other cards like Hellhole Flailer is pretty good, but I think we're just like 1 or 2 cards away from this black-red strategy actually becoming a thing, and I think once that it all ties together, then Underworld Cerberus will be at least a 2 or a 3 of them in that deck and kind of round out the deck. The thing that I think there's so much potential right now, if you could actually go more of a heavy red strategy and go for cards like the Hammer Purphoros as a 6/6 haster for 5 mana is just crazy, crazy good. So I think it's just a matter of time. Again, I think the Temple, just having the Temple, might push people over the edge to actually playing a black-red strategy. And who knows, if we get one more black-red bomb card, this is going to be a deck. So I would definitely keep my eye on Underworld Cerberus. We've tested a lot. I've tested a lot in my local metagame, and it is very, very powerful. It's very hard for control decks that aren't attention sphering it if they're trying to kill it. Then you get all that card advantage back, like get Spike Jesters back from your graveyard hand. It is very, very powerful. So at $3, I think this is a nice pickup. I cannot for the life of me see why this card will not have its day in the sun. Either this format or when Return to Ravnica rotates out. Just a 6/6 for 5 mana with upside, not downside. is too powerful not to consider. So definitely keep your eye out on the Underworld Cerberus. Another card I personally like is Fabled Hero. It's $1.10. This card reminds me a lot of cards like Moran Crusader. If we get like a nice 4-drop enchantment, like what was that Angel card back in the day that gave it +4 plus, was it +4/+4 flying first strike? Angelic Ascendance? I can't remember what it was called, but it was from M12. We'll have to look at that. But that's what made Moran Crusader so good, is you were able to hook on, play that turn 3, hook on the enchantment turn 4, and it was just about a kill condition. And if it is a 4 enchantment that actually gives +4/+4, Fabled Hero will actually give +5/+5, so you'll be able to swing in for 15 damage or 14 damage with the Fabled Hero. Also, a card like Rancor would push this card over the top. So I'm really liking Fabled Hero. I think the casual appeal is very, very good. I've already been very successful in a green-white heroics deck. I've actually updated the list from my playing on the budget, and it is doing amazingly well. It is just very good against the matchup that it is hard against is mono blue a lot of times, but we do have answers for mono blue. I started actually playing more Brave the Elements. To a lot of times what happens with mono blue is the board gets jammed up and you can't get through with your creatures, and all you have to do is hook up a Fabled Hero with some sort of enchantment, and when it gets through, it's just so much damage. So I really like Fabled Hero. I definitely think that the potentials here, we're just 1 or 2 cards away from seeing this guy. He was in a pre-constructed deck, I'll give you that, so the price might not go up as much, but as a $1.10, these are the type of cards I really, really like to spec on, like the Underworld Connections. I had so many copies of Underworld Connections that I got at 50 cents and dumped them at $3 to $4 a piece. Well, it was like more like $3 a piece, and now I think they are up to $4. What are Underworld Connections at? Let's check out. And yep, they're $2.50. But I unloaded most of it. I think it was $3 that I unloaded all the Underworld Connections at. I'm going to go out here. Let's just talk about Underworld Connections here at the moment. I think it's time to unload these, get rid of them. I don't think this card is that good. It's a nice little sideboard card against control a lot of times, but I think if Mono Black gets another permanent, non-creature permanent at a 3-drop slot, they would rather jam that than the Underworld Connections. It does give card advantage, but I think the enchantment hate, like Wear and Tear, is really starting to show its presence, and Underworld Connections is too much of a risk. And again, like if Mono Black gets another decent, even creature, I'll go out on a limb and say even a nice creature on the 3-drop slot, then I think that they will replace Underworld Connections with that. So I think it's about time. You've already made, if you spec'd on them at 50 cents a piece, you've already made 5 times your money, and it's a good time to get out. There's a good saying in MTG Finance that they say leave the last 10-20% to someone else. So if this does go up to $3, you've already made your huge profit. Now it's time to just pick another spec target and go from there. So I'm not going to pick any modern targets for this series. Modern, keep your eye on Modern. I believe the PTQ season starts June, and I don't think we'll see many. We've seen some crazy spikes in Modern lately. The Spellskite's on the rise again. That card's just crazy. I'm glad I spec'd him at $2 a piece. But other than Spellskite and Curse Catcher, was more of the vintage legacy spec. We've seen the Disrupting Shoal go up because of the Ninja Bear decks that was created by Travis Wu. It seems like if Travis Wu creates anything, it causes a huge spike. Remember Gutter Snipe? When Gutter Snipe went crazy because of his deck? And Travis Wu's a lot like me. I don't think his decks necessarily work. They're just a lot of fun to play. So anyway, let's go back to my picks here. So again, we have Underworld Cerberus. We have the Fabled Hero. Again, keep in mind these are cards that are from a set that is going to continue to be opened. So just a word of advice here, that they could continue to go down. All right, so the next card I really, really like is Reverent Hunter. I love this guy. It's 3 mana for a 1/1. It's always going to be at least a 2/2 with its own devotion. But if you have, again, green is just missing a good 2-drop, a good 3-drop. I've talked about this in the past, that it's kind of crappy that green didn't get a triple green devotion card, where all the rest of the colors did get a triple green. I'm just talking about a 3 casting cost, not a 4 casting. They have a Rubble Belt Raider, which is 4 casting cost, but it's just a little bit awkward when that's the turn you're going to be casting Nylea. And I think Reverent Hunter might see some play again. Again, if there's a nice way for mono green to get some evasion, this card is huge. This card has massive potential. Again, turn 1, experiment 1, or another like Dryad Militant. Turn 2, you get the Tusker, and then turn 3, you've got a 5/5 on board. That is not shabby. A 3 mana for a 5/5. And again, I think that green is just missing a couple of pieces to be a contender again, and Reverend Hunter might be that card. I think it's 75 cents. It's definitely worth the spec. It's something that has potential to grow rather than the rest of these that have more potential to fall than anything. Still am a huge fan of Hammer of Purphoros. I think that is a very underrated card. I think this card is amazing. I've lost so many games to it. I've kind of shied away from red lately. I haven't played a lot of red decks, but Hammer is definitely one of those cards that creatures you control have haste. I've already talked about how that works with Underworld Cerberus. So I don't know if I'm picking. I'll go out on a limb and just pick that this card is going to continue to see a lot of casual play. And if Minotaurs does become a deck, I think Hammer Purphoros might see a nice fit in a Minotaur type deck. And so I guess I will go out on a limb and saying it at $1. The Hammer Purphoros has a lot of potential. I could see this easily be a 2 or 3. As far as mythics are concerned, the other mythic I like is Ashen Rider, and I don't know if right now is the time to buy it. Rotation's the time to buy it after this set quits being drafted. I would definitely think about picking up foil copies of this, because let's click on Ashen Rider here. It is seeing play in Legacy, and Legacy doesn't see much play. I believe this is, what is this? WUBR. Okay, this is just burn. They bring Ashen Rider has now made the replacement for the Angel of Despair. So it's just a strict upgrade to Angel of Despair. The reason why they put this, if you look at this list, you're like, what in the world is 3 Ashen Riders in the sideboard for? It is for Sneak and Show. So you bring in a Sneak and Show, and you get to kill their Emrakul. So what happens is they sneak in Emrakul, and you get to sneak in, or show and tell in Emrakul. You get to show and tell in Ashen Rider. And Emrakul does not have protection from the abilities. So they pop in Emrakul, you pop in Ashen Rider, and the trigger goes on the stack and kills Emrakul. And you still have a 5/5 on the board. And when it happens to die, then you can exile another permanent. So that is why it's in there. So it's already seeing, and then of course this probably is Sneak and Show here. This is, nope, it's Dredge that is, again, putting that in the sideboard for probably that reason. I think that actually Dredge has a way to sneak it in, or has a way to actually get it back with Dread Return. So Ashen Rider already seeing some Legacy play. I'm sure it sees a lot of Commander play. I'm not the best expert on Commander, and I think it at $1.83 at basically bulk mythic price. Mythics have a hard time getting under $1.50. I think that this is a steal. So anyway, let's go back on to my final pick here. And these are all from Theros. I might hurry and give some advice on the other cards. Of course, there's definitely some cards that I think might be the time to pick up. I'm debating whether they are rotation or right now when Ravnica, right before Modern season starts, and they start to spike in that value, in that aspect. But anyway, here's Rageblood Shaman. It's a bulk rare. I sell a ton of these. We have a hard time keeping these at stock at our local game store, and just because they have so much casual appeal. Didgeridoo, an artifact that puts in a Minotaur from your hand from Homelands, spiked like crazy when this set was spoiled. And Rageblood Shaman is your lord, one of your lords for the Minotaur deck. And the one information that I do have from the Born of the Gods is art. We know that Born of the Gods already has like a horde. There's going to be a Minotaur horde that is going to be attacking towns or whatnot. That's what we have from the storyline. And that Mogus is probably going to be released in this set. Mogus is the Minotaur god. So I'm thinking that they are going to push Minotaurs as an actual tribe. And Rageblood Shaman works perfectly with that. As he is the Lord, he's the 3 casting cost Lord. If history is anything, we've seen that is perfect for Lords. You know, that's usually the Lord of the Undead is a very expensive card. Tribal decks, if we get any more Minotaurs, I think that you might see some tribal decks in the casual crowd. And in Commander, you might actually see a Minotaur deck or two, which of course will increase the price of the Rageblood Shaman. Again, this is a very, very highly opened set. We've seen a little bit of a slowdown in Magic the Gathering. We haven't seen huge numbers like we did in Return to Ravnica, so there isn't that huge influx of new players trying to get their hands on cards, and that's what's kind of keeping the price down of Theros. But I still think the Rageblood Shaman, especially if this somehow makes a deck, like a top 8 deck in any sort of Grand Prix or Star City Open or whatnot, you could see this guy overnight kind of turn into like a little Nightvale Spectre type card. Another card that was printed in mass, that was in a bulk bin, that went crazy overnight. So Rageblood Shaman, we know that Mogus is coming out. We have an awesome card that works with Rageblood Shaman. And no, I'm not talking about Fnatic Amogus, which also does work very, very well with Rageblood Shaman. I'm talking about Mutavault. Mutavault is great with this card. It becomes a 3/3 trampler. And if we get any other sort of... what this deck is really missing is a 2-drop that is decent. I mean, you have Deathbellow Raiders, and it also, I think it's missing a 1-drop, but Cackler's not horrible. Even though Cackler isn't a Minotaur, it's not a bad card whatsoever. And I mean, you still have Fire Drinker Satyr, but I mean, the Satyr isn't again in a Minotaur, and I can't stand that card, so I'm not even gonna plug Minotaur or Fire Drinker Satyr. But I'm thinking that red is just missing either a 1 or 2 drop, especially if it's a Minotaur. If you see a 2-drop Minotaur that's better than a 2/3 that has to attack each turn, I'm thinking that Minotaurs can actually be a tribe that is worth considering, because it's a 2/3 trampler for 3 mana. It pumps up the rest of them. You get some, if you have, like I said, a 2-drop Minotaur already out on the battlefield, this guy already gets some value. And then Boros Reckoner has great synergy with a 4/4, with a 4/4 that has potential first strike or dealing damage back to opponent is really good. And yeah, so I'm definitely thinking about Rageblood Shaman is my #1 Theros pick. I think it has the most potential, and with the amount of information that we have, that is my #1 spec. I am picking these guys up like crazy. Those are basically my spec picks. All of these that I am trading in for full value at the store are what we have at our stores. We have different increments that we buy cards at a certain percentage. We do store credit for a certain percentage, and then we do a trade value, cards for cards, based upon need. So usually I give about 75% trade value, plus or minus how well we need the card, and currently I'm giving 100% trade. So I'm giving the full value of it's 50 cents for the Rageblood Shaman. And I'm doing the same for Fabled Hero and whatnot. I'm hoping that, personally, I don't ever think that this card is going to be worth a ton, but I'm thinking that Agent of Fates, Black has absolutely 0 heroic cards that are good. They're terrible. The heroic cards that you have options with in Black are terrible. And right now, Agent of Fates doesn't quite work in an aggressive red-black heroic strategy. I've tried that. Decent in a white-black heroic strategy. And in fact, Agent of Fates is pretty good in a white-black heroic strategy. I had a lot of fun with that, but he's competing for the same slot as the Fabled Hero. So Agent of Fates, I'm still loving Black Blue Heroics. I think that's still the best heroic decks that I've made to this date with Hidden Strings. If we get another blue, but again, blue doesn't have the greatest. It's got Mizium Skin and a few other cards in blue that are... But most of the blue cards and black cards that target creatures aren't beneficial. So if we get another beneficial, either blue or black spell, I think Agent of Fates has potential. And talking about that, if blue-black, this is still a card that I'm so surprised has not seen a home. The potential is here, and it is just very sad, I guess, that this card hasn't ever seen play, is Duskmantle Seer. It's sitting at $2. Let's look at his price history. I think this might be the lowest this guy's ever been. So it's low as $1.94. Yep, poor Duskmantle Seer. And same thing with Paper. This is the lowest this guy has ever seen. A 4/4 flying that they have to answer. I mean, if we turn into it even a later game strategy, I think Duskmantle Seer can see her home. Again, it's just missing that last piece, I guess, in black blue aggro. I've seen this card be splashed in a few decks. Yeah, let's see what this deck that's using him. And okay, it's mono blue. Mono blue, I guess, there's been a deck or two that has thrown in a Duskmantle Seer that uses maybe the Thoughtseize Ultimate Price. That's kind of a nice little addition to mono blue Devotion. Other than it is competing with the Master of Waves slot a little bit. And this particular build, yeah, this particular build, I wonder which one actually uses the Duskmantle Seer here. Let's try to find it real quick. Okay, it's not this one. Let's see. It's not this one either. I don't know. Well, but I guess it might be a better spell than a Bident. But Bident sometimes just it stalls. You force all your opponents to attack, and then it opens you up to attack into them for the win a lot of times. But I think Thassa is a lot better for that. I know they do like the Bident Thassa for that card draw and the double devotion, which Duskmantle Seer does not allow. And a lot of times Duskmantle Seer, I think Duskmantle Seer is a little awkward in this deck because you're not trying to kill them on turn 5 a lot of times. And if you are, it's by casting Master Waves, not Duskmantle Seer. So anyway, let's go back to Duskmantle Seer. That is always a card. I think at $2, that is probably the most potential a Mythic has.